podcast of 98FM's Dublin Talks. Remember, catch the show live Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. 98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Now, on our next one, you might like to comment on this on 6797981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. A couple of moments ago, we were hearing about the occupation of a building at Summerhill Parade in the North Inner City and how that's now been vacated after a High Court injunction was issued yesterday. Well, on the south side of the city, out in Sallynoggin, something that we mentioned on this programme a couple of weeks back was a protest by local residents, Sallynoggin Concerned Community they're called, who have been very concerned about the use of a building which is at 10A Church Place in Sallynoggin. And they were having a protest outside. They put locks on the gate. And before I find out exactly what they're doing now, I'm joined on the line by Stephen, who is one of the organisers of Sallynoggin Concerned Community. Stephen, before I find out what you're doing now, let me get a brief background, if I may, for people who may not be familiar with this story, as to what your objection is to the use of 10A Church Place, Sallynoggin.
Well, I mean, quite basically, it's a sex offenders. It was a sex offenders clinic, and it was dealing, in particularly, with some of the most notorious child abusers and rapists. And the location where this is based is like within 100 metres, you've got like 2 schools, creches, colleges. And, you know, this is an area, you know, near a chipper. The kids are playing around all the time. We were really concerned and we were worried. We were fearful. And, you know, we try and address it. And
now, had there been any evidence, Stephen, that sexual offenders had been attending for classes or courses or whatever in that building?
Yeah, well, so originally on their website, they declared it as such, that they were running group therapy Tuesday to Thursday, 6 to 9 in the evening. And we kind of suspected otherwise, you know, other things as well. But that's the initial information that we had. But then while Dr. Patrick Randall, who runs Forensic Psychological Services, while he meeting in the Sallynoggin Inn, he basically lied to the community and said that he wasn't dealing with any sex offenders. And but we did get confirmation in the way. We got a video recording of a member of his staff acknowledging all the services were conducted at 10A. We've had confirmation from the guards when we did a sit-in from a detective who worked in the sexual offenders unit. He gave us confirmation that they knew that the facility was here and they knew it was in Dublin beforehand. And then we also have video recordings of Dr. Randall also acknowledging that he treated sex offenders. And, you know, he was asking us if he could say if he wouldn't treat sex offenders. So, yeah, we've got absolute confirmation. OK,
now, you eventually, after quite a while, you eventually removed your picket from outside the building in good faith to allow for the staff to basically leave the building.
Yeah, it came to a point we had to put locks on the gate to prevent access from the staff from entering the building. You know, we'd reached a decision within our group that we just wanted to shut it down and get the company out. So that was a success. The guards cut his locks off, and then he came down in a big kind of mini lorry, and he took 2 lorry loads of, you know, client filing cabinets. And he told us that at that point that he was moving out. And so, like, in good faith, we removed the picket and we said, you know, we give you a free pass, you know, we're happy you're going and let's get it done as quickly as possible. So,
okay, so what has changed between the 16th of July and a month later on the 17th of August?
So just 1 second here. On the 11th of August, there was a recording made of a conversation between Dr. Patrick Randall and some other members of Sallynoggin Concerned Community. And at that point, he expressed that he was actually going to stay and that he was going to put in for planning permission because he was actually operating a medical clinic without planning permission. And the council got onto him, that kind of thing.
Okay, so he has indicated that he intends applying for planning permission, that he has I understand, a 10-year lease that he can't get out of, and that he intends to resume the activities of Forensic Psychological Services in that building at 10A Church Place.
Yeah, basically, he said the landlord, he's got a lease with the landlord, Paul Murphy and Kleiny, and he said that was a 10-year lease. He said Paul Murphy wasn't giving him any leeway to get out of the lease, that, essentially he has no choice. Okay,
now, last night, you, as a group, the Sallynoggin Concerned Community, decided to do what?
So last night at 8:30, we had a street meeting, and in the street meeting, we approved action to occupy the building. And after that was approved by the group, a small autonomous group of activists broke into the building and then notified us that the building is available for us to walk into and occupy. And at that point, a number of us then entered the building, and we built up barricades within the building to attempt to secure ourselves from the guards.
Okay, now if anybody wants to see photographs of the building being occupied, you can find it on our social media platforms at Dublin Talks 98FM on Twitter. It's also on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. So, as I was mentioning, as one protest's end in Summerhill, you have now occupied this building at 10A Church Place in Sallynoggin. How many of you are in the building?
I don't really want to go into details about how many are in the building, but I would just like to say solidarity to the people in Summerhill for their occupation.
Which is now ended, due to a High Court injunction.
That's right.
Now, this is a building that is not even owned by the Forensic Psychological Services. This is a building that is owned by a landlord that you have now taken possession of. You're going to face the same sort of problem down the road of a High Court injunction, are you not?
We don't intend to negotiate with the courts or the cops.
Oh, so you're going to have to be forcibly dragged out of the place, are you?
We feel that we have a moral and ethical obligation to take action to protect the most vulnerable people within our community. And as such, we believe in providing direct solutions to our problems. And this occupation, on the one hand, eradicates, we can finally move Dr. Patrick Randall out of this building, and that we have hopes as a community that we can use this building for the community.
Okay, so you're not prepared, and I note from your statement, we refuse to beg or plead with the state, the council, the Gardaí, or all the politicians who have failed our community. And basically, you're saying you're staying there until perhaps you're forcibly removed.
We're going to stay here. We're going to get on with building a community social centre for Sallynoggin, a place where we can organise a safe space that we can meet, that we can discuss things with each other, and we're going to try and turn this negative into a positive for our community.
In terms of what you're protesting against, okay, I understand that you do not want the services provided by Forensic Psychological Services, which includes counselling services for sex offenders, a part of their rehabilitation. You don't want that treatment being provided at this location in Sallynoggin. What are you afraid of?
Is that a serious question?
That's a serious question, yeah.
Well, I mean, we have vulnerable children and vulnerable teenagers in this area. Forensic Psychological Services, if you read on their website, mentions that many, many times about risk assessment. But Dr. Patrick Randall doesn't appear to have actually carried out any kind of risk assessment into running a clinic like this so close to 2 schools, a college and 2 creches. Our concerns are that if someone was attacked and we didn't take action to get Forensic Psychological Services out, then we would bear a a percentage of responsibility for that attack if we didn't take any action. We felt that we had a moral and ethical obligation that we must act, that we felt that we wasn't going to get assistance from the outside, that we felt that the cops actually collaborated with Dr. Patrick Randall in keeping this secret sex offenders clinic within our community. And we were forced, we had no choice. We had to take action.
Are people that would be treated in a service like Forensic Psychological Services, are they not entitled to receive treatment? Is it not good that somebody who may have been a sexual offender in the past is actually seeking treatment and getting treatment?
I can't talk for the group here, Adrian, but my personal opinion is that these child abusers and rapists should get all the therapies that they need in secure units.
In other words, in prison before they're released?
I don't think in terms of the criminal justice system, just throwing people in prison is actually solving the problem. It's part of the problem. If they had specialist units that dealt with sex offenders, dealt with treatment, then they can be, society can be protected away.
So where are they meant to get rehab when they're released?
They should really be getting rehab before they get released.
Yes, and in some cases they do, but some people have continuous assessment and continuous rehabilitation. Where are they meant to get that when they're released?
Well, like you said, some people have continuous rehabilitation because they keep reoffending. I think, talking to many people of this topic is that the vast majority of people believe that once someone rapes a child or rapes an adult, that they shouldn't be free within society to attack again.
Okay, do me a favour and stay on the line there for 1 second. If you're from the Sallynoggin area, I would love to hear from you on this, on 6797981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. Do you support this occupation of this building at 10A Church Place in Sallynoggin? And by the way, we photographs up on our Facebook page right now at facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D, where you can see the posters that they have outside this building, outside the front gate. It says, sex offenders treated here, no way. So call us right now on 6797981. Text or WhatsApp us 0877 98 98 98. Let me know if you support this occupation of this particular building in the Sallynoggin area. Now, let me go to Tracy. You're on 98FM. Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
Now, Tracy, you're actually outside 10A Church Place.
I am.
And are you there in support of this occupation?
Yes.
What is your concern and why are you there to support this occupation?
My main concern is schools in the area and especially the evening sessions that they hold there, because the secondary school is open in the evening times, and if young children getting off public transport and going into the main the Holy Child Community School.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you're obviously concerned that if this centre run by Forensic Psychological Services were to get back in business and start treating sex offenders, your concern obviously is that these people will be walking to get there and walking to get home, and obviously will be passing by children and so on in the area.
Yes, at the particular time that the sessions are on it as well.
Okay. Is there any way in which you could see yourself being happy enough with a centre like that being opened? If, for example, they had only sessions in the mornings when children are at school, would that be enough?
Well, you just don't want a centre in the area at all because it's too built up of an area.
Where would you like a centre like that then? Do you accept the need for a centre like that?
Well, we have the John O'Gauns, like just up the road. There's plenty of ground space that they could build a centre like that on.
And do you obviously genuinely believe and are genuinely concerned that if this centre were to open and provide the services that this organisation provides, that children and vulnerable people in the Sallynoggin area would be at risk?
Yes.
That's your main concern?
Yes.
Let me go back to Stephen, who is inside this house that is being occupied at 10A Church Place in Sallynoggin. Stephen, let me ask you, in terms of your current occupation, in terms of what you're trying to achieve there, where can this centre go if it's not in this location in Sallynoggin?
Well, I mean, I think that kind of overextends on what maybe our opinions should cover. Our main concerns are the immediate area and the most vulnerable.
I know, but it kind of does smack of anywhere, just not in my backyard.
Well, I think it's probably fair to say, I think I've answered the question in a way, because I said I think it should be done in secure units. It shouldn't be done in the residential area. I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous.
And like I said, over the last couple of weeks, you've had meetings. You say you had a street meeting last night. What sort of support have you got from local people in Sallynoggin? I know we have spoken about this in the past on the programme. What sort of support in terms of numbers have you gotten?
Well, I don't know how I would describe it in numbers, but I mean, it was kind of regular that we'd be kind of getting, for the action meetings, at the street meetings, we'd probably get anything between 50 and 70 people, sometimes higher.
No,
hard to tell, really. 50
to 70 people doesn't seem huge in comparison to the population of Sallynoggin.
No, but we've also had little marches where we've had hundreds of people and this kind of thing. It really depends. We can't have some of the actions that we have deployed here. Not really kind of child friendly, and we kind of normally advise, that we keep kids away during these actions. So
why? Because they can get stroppy?
No. It's because on the one hand, we want to take certain direct actions that we feel really are kind of really only adult-only affairs.
Like occupying a building, which you did last night?
Exactly.
All right, so your protest, do you intend staying there until, well, basically for the long haul? Are you, the people who are in there, I know you don't want to say how many people are actually in there, but of the people in there, are you able to stick this out for the long haul?
Yeah, we believe so. We believe we are the community, and we feel that we can have a really good go at this, turning this into Sallynoggin Social Centre. We feel that Dr. Patrick Randall is out now. We're happy, to pass his bits and pieces that he didn't take behind. We'll hop them over the fence if he wants to pick them up. But we're full steam ahead. We're making plans to, like I say, Sallynoggin Social Centre.
Okay, but I don't think the landlord is going to just, sit back and say, yeah, that's grand. Yeah, stay where you are.
Well, we're happy to engage in some kind of dialogue, but when we've tried to make contact with the landlord, he actually denies he's actually the Paul Murphy who owns 10A Church Place. Okay,
well, regardless, somebody owns that building, and I shouldn't imagine that whoever it is who owns that building is going to be happy to leave you remain in there for, ad infinitum. Some owner somewhere or some agent on behalf of that owner is going to want to get you out of there sooner rather than later.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that right now that this landlord, Paul Murphy of Killiney, I'm sure that he feels a sense of frustration that we felt when we discovered that they were embedding a sexual abuse centre within our community.
Stay there for 1 second, Stephen, because Jay, you are a Sallynoggin local.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about this protest and this centre, which isn't there at the moment, but this centre possibly applying for planning permission to operate at 10A Church Place?
Well, as a victim of sexual assault, I'm really just not happy with this. The insidious nature of how they brought this into the community without informing anyone that this was happening and bringing dangerous offenders to our community full of children. I mean, this place is full of children. There's 2 schools across the road. There's a creche. There's a college. There's so many kids here. And I live a couple of minutes away from
But
it.
I could argue, Jay, that every area is full of kids. So
Yeah.
if it's not at this location in Sallynoggin, where do you put a centre like this? Up the mountains?
What about industrial estates? I mean, there's no children usually living in industrial estates. There's vacant lots in industrial estates that could be used for it. They're well out of the way of people.
But this particular location in Sallynoggin, you believe is not the appropriate place?
Definitely not. Definitely not. The windows overlook 2 schools. Like, they're literally right across from it. And there's kids in every house surrounding it. And they just came in here without giving any of the citizens of this place, like, notice. And I haven't been able to sleep at night knowing that there's sex offenders being treated in my town. I know they're out there and I know they're walking around, but they're giving them a place.
That's what I was about to say. For all you know, you live next door to one and you just don't realise it. The fact of the matter is that these sex offenders, much and all as all of us find people like that abhorrent, they eventually get released back into society and some decide to continue treatment. Surely somebody being treated for whatever it is that led to them committing a sexual crime, surely them being treated is better than them not being treated.
I've no problem with these people being treated. I've no problem with sex offenders being treated, as long as they are actively seeking the treatment and taking it seriously. Not just as a way of, I'm able to go out, if I go to these meetings once a week, doesn't matter. As long as they're taking it seriously, that there's actual results being, like, positive results being shown from the treatment, that they're, like, just, I've no problem with them having treatment.
Okay,
it's the location.
but
it's
you want
far
them
too residential.
Okay, you want them to have that treatment in an industrial estate or somewhere out of the way, up the mountains,
away, like a business area, like a city, not a town full of children and schools.
And why did you tell our staff that you had kind of mixed feelings about it? What are your mixed feelings?
Well, I don't really know, to be honest. My mixed feelings are, why are they still here? I haven't really got proper mixed feelings about it, to be honest.
Okay, you just want this centre gone and you fully support the occupation of the building?
100%.
All right, stay there for 1 second. I have to take a very quick break. I've another Jay on line 4 and I'll take your call in just a moment. If you'd like to throw your tuppence worth into this, call us right now on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. If you're from the Sallynoggin area, do you support this protest? And I mean, somebody's contribution to this debate is, can they not buy them an island someplace and leave them all on it to live far, far away from anyone? There's loads of them on the West Coast. Yeah, that really is a constructive answer to this. We're talking about people who may have done time in prison but are released from prison. There are laws, whether we like it or not, that these people eventually get released back into the community. Some who obviously are trying to rehabilitate themselves, go for treatment, go for counselling, go to different programmes like the ones run by Forensic Psychological Services. I would have thought that is a good thing. And this idea of buying an island and just throwing them onto it, that doesn't contribute anything to the discussion. Adrian, you're being absolutely ridiculous. You're talking as though there is nowhere else for this treatment centre to go in the whole country except beside 3 schools and a college, out in the country away from kids, or as one caller said, in an industrial estate would be the right place. Jason, all I really said was this notion of buying an island and throwing all sex offenders and paedophiles onto that island is ridiculous. That's not going to happen. I've another Jay on line 4. You're on 98FM, Jay. How are you?
Morning, Adrian.
Morning, Jay. How are you?
Not too bad.
You fully support these people in Sallynoggin?
Oh, completely, yeah. It's totally the wrong area for something like that. As the other caller said, an industrial estate, a business park, something like that, away from
Although, as somebody messaged us a moment ago, it said you could easily walk past a school or a residential area en route to an industrial estate, for God's sake.
They probably could, yeah, but like they won't all be focused in that one area then, though, would they? You might be passing it, they won't be stopping and concentrated there. Because you have to remember, these aren't going to be people just from the local area. These are going to be people from all over the city going into the one spot.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So concentrating them like that in one area beside 3 schools, that's ridiculous, really, isn't it?
So you can understand how residents are fearful
totally,
of a centre like that being located in their area.
Yeah, totally. Actually, here's the crazy thing. I live like a 5-minute walk from an industrial estate. And honestly, I wouldn't even like to see it in that industrial estate, you know what I mean? Because it's too close to residential areas.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make. I mean, there's very few...
Yeah, I understand that. But there are also there's industrial estates on the outskirts of cities that are well away from almost everybody, you know what I mean?
Okay.
There's plenty of places for it. And another thing as well, I also believe that doctor should be prosecuted.
For what? He's doing
nothing. In breach of the planning laws. He had no plan permission for that centre there. And only for the residents there. He'd still be operating that in breach of the law.
Okay, but he does intend applying for planning permission.
Applying for it, yeah. He's already opened.
Well, he's closed now.
You know what I mean? That'd be like me going in, robbing the shop and then going back later and saying I'm sorry.
Just to clarify, that centre is not operating at the moment. In fact, it couldn't operate
at the moment. Yeah, because they got him shut down because he was in breach of planning laws.
Let me go back to Stephen, who was in this occupied house at 10A Church Place in Sallynoggin. Stephen has said, and the Sallynoggin Concerned Community Group have said in their statement that they were forced to escalate their direct action, applying locks to keep people out and keep the clinic closed. And they say further to their action today, taking the building to put it to good use as a Sallynoggin social centre, a safe space to organise and to support our community. Stephen, okay, whatever about your occupation in terms of wanting to get rid of that centre, what in God's name gives you the right to decide you're going to use that building for some sort of a community centre? You there, Stephen? Oh, he's not. Have we lost him? Oh, okay, we'll try and get him back just for 1 second, lads, if you can, please. That's Stephen, who's in the building in Sallynoggin. I'm just curious to know, I mean, this is a privately owned building. You can't just go in and say, I want this and I'm going to turn it into this particular use or that particular use. I don't like what it's being used for. They obviously feel that they have the right to do that. I can't see the owner of that particular building allowing them. Stephen, I have you back on the line there. Just very briefly before I let you go. You say in your statement that you plan to take the building and put it to good use as Sallynoggin Social Centre, a safe space to organise and support our community. What gives you the right to demand that building be used for that purpose?
Well, I mean, what gives the landlord, Paul Murphy and Dr. Patrick Randall and the cops, what gives them the right to embed secretly and without planning permission a sex offenders clinic in our area? Okay,
but would you be prepared to pay the rent on that building to turn it into a community centre?
We, like I said to you earlier, we made contact with Paul Murphy, and he denies he is the owner of the building. We'd have a sit down with him. Okay. Have a discussion with him.
All right, but I've absolutely no doubt that should you continue to occupy this building, you'll soon find out who the landlord is, because the landlord will want you out of his building sooner rather than later. As we've seen in Summerhill, they lasted 10 days before a High Court injunction. Obviously time will tell as to how long you intend, or you are let stay there, but you intend, and just to wrap this up, Stephen, you intend to stay in that building for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear here. We're not a political party. We don't intend to make cheap political points, and what we're about is actually defending our community and working with each other.
Have you beds, showers, food? Are you sorted out for the weekend?
Yeah, so on each floor we've got each floor is it's a 3-story office, so each floor is almost independent. It has a small kitchen area, it has toilets. We don't have showers in here, but we're all set. Yeah, we've built so many defences. We feel comfortable at the moment. We feel, in the next short period of time, we're going to, open this place up and get good use of it and actually turn this negative into a positive, like I say.
All right, Stephen from the Sallynoggin Concerned Community occupying that building at 10A Church Place in Sallynoggin. Thank you for talking to us, and we will keep in touch and see how your story develops over the next couple of days.
Thanks, Adrian. I really appreciate you having us on our Feel Good Friday as well. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much indeed. All right, there you go. That's Stephen. On behalf of Sallynoggin Concerned Community, if you're around the area and you want to support them, they are at 10A Church Place in Sallynoggin. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks.
This is a podcast of 98FM's Dublin Talks. Remember, catch the show live Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. 98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.